Imagine the sun rising over a shattered city. Its golden light doesn't reveal a peaceful morning, but streets scarred by conflict, where laughter once echoed. This isn't a history lesson. This is the reality for countless people whose lives were interrupted by war, families torn apart, communities destroyed. The true cost of military intervention isn't measured in strategies or statistics, but in human suffering. The faces of survivors are etched with memories that can't be erased, and their stories demand to be told. Before we continue, think about this. Every time you see a news headline about a conflict, someone is living the aftermath of decisions made in distant rooms of power. We're here to share those untold stories, to amplify the voices often overlooked, and to understand the real human cost behind the headlines. The reasons given for intervention often sound noble: national security, strategic necessity, even humanitarian aid. But on the ground, the reality is rarely so clear-cut. In regions affected by US military action, from Latin America to Southeast Asia and the Middle East, the impact on civilians has been profound and long-lasting. Families remember explosions before breakfast, schools turn to rubble, and hospitals becoming battlegrounds. Children grow up navigating the ruins of what should have been an ordinary life. Eyewitness accounts give us a window into this reality. In Iraq, following the 2003 invasion, civilians recall days without electricity or clean water, when hospitals were overwhelmed and fear dictated every single move. Markets that were once the heart of a community fell silent. Yet, even in the devastation, stories of incredible resilience emerge. Neighbors sharing their last resources, communities rebuilding what they could, and parents shielding their children from a reality they couldn't fully comprehend. In Afghanistan, decades of intervention created complex layers of consequences. What started as targeting militant groups expanded into nation-building, often with unintended effects. Eyewitnesses describe homes destroyed in airstrikes, fields abandoned due to insecurity, and generations of children for whom the sounds of conflict are just a normal part of life. The emotional trauma, the disruption of education, the loss of livelihoods, these are the invisible but permanent scars of war. Latin America also holds stories of intervention's human toll. Families in regions affected by covert operations and military support recall nights filled with uncertainty, neighbors disappearing without a trace, and a constant, pervasive atmosphere of fear. These are not abstract historical events. They are lived experiences, passed down in hushed conversations and quiet ceremonies of remembrance. Sharing these stories requires immense care and trust. Many survivors have endured unimaginable violence and are wary of outsiders. Documenting their experiences is an exercise in respect, listening without judgment, and recording without exploitation. Each account is a piece of the truth, helping us all understand the bigger picture. Consider the words of a mother from Baghdad. She remembers the day her neighborhood was hit, the sound of children's cries drowned out by explosions, and the desperate search for safe water for her family. Years later, she doesn't speak of anger, but of a deep desire for her children to know that life can endure, that rebuilding is possible, and that their suffering has not been forgotten. These personal narratives humanize conflict in a way that statistics never can. They also reveal the deep ethical complexities of war. Decisions made in strategy meetings, airstrikes, troop movements, sanctions, have real, tangible consequences for ordinary people. The media often focuses on military objectives and political statements, but rarely lingers on the individual faces behind the numbers. That's why documentaries and direct testimonies are so crucial. They balance the narrative and reveal the human cost hidden behind policy. In Syria, civilians describe navigating neighborhoods turned into minefields and improvising schools in basements. The human spirit finds a way to persist, even in the most impossible circumstances. The psychological toll is immense. Survivors often face anxiety, depression, and trauma that lasts long after the immediate danger has passed. Children exposed to conflict can struggle for years. These stories shine a light on these hidden challenges, connecting abstract policy decisions to the lived experiences of individuals. From Colombia to Vietnam, the patterns are heartbreakingly similar: fear, loss, and disrupted communities. But amidst the pain, these narratives also show incredible resilience and courage. Communities organize to rebuild, support networks form, and cultural traditions survive. Survivors teach the next generation about endurance and compassion. They aren't passive victims, they show agency and creativity in the face of unimaginable adversity. These stories challenge all of us to think critically. We must consider not just the strategic goals of an intervention, but the ethical price paid by ordinary people. Empathy, informed by these testimonies, transforms us from passive observers into active, moral citizens. It reminds us that human lives are what's truly at stake. Ultimately, these accounts compel us to reflect. Policy decisions and military strategies are inseparable from the human consequences they create. To truly understand the ethics of intervention, we must listen to those whose lives have been forever changed. In telling their stories, we honor their dignity and confront the moral reality of war. Behind every statistic is a human story. Behind every policy is a community affected. By amplifying these voices, we can begin to bridge the distance and humanize conflict. Thank you for watching and for listening. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to produce in-depth documentaries that illuminate truth, complexity, and resilience in the face of adversity. Let's keep these important conversations going.